So the agenda for today is essentially give you a quick heads up of what is Module Suite, what are the smart pages, how these fit in, why utilize the smart pages, essentially what are the use cases, as well as how the smart pages is licensed. I presume that's going to be quite of interest to a lot of you. Afterwards, I'll hand things off to Patrick for the live demonstration, and then we'll take questions and answers at the end. But in the meantime, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A panel, and we can get to them at the end. So what is the Module Suite? Well, most of you already know. Essentially, it's a fully integrated add-on module for CSP and extended DCM, which essentially provides a set of tools. And with these tools, we can go ahead and extend and enhance the standard functionalities of CSP and extended DCM. What can you do with essentially extending and enhancing the standard functionalities? Essentially, you can go ahead and create very robust, very tailored solutions and business applications on top of that platform. So I briefly mentioned there's tools within Module Suite. So what are these tools? Essentially, the two main ones is Beautiful Web Forms and Content Script. So respectively, they are very powerful and super efficient tools. One is to implement user inputs, i.e. forms, ergo the Beautiful Web Forms. And the other is, again, a very powerful and super efficient tool to implement business logics, in this case, Content Script. So what we needed and what was effectively missing was a way to frame these two solutions together in a very seamless way. And so that is where the smart pages comes in. And essentially, the smart pages is the glue that brings these two solutions, these two technologies together into a single enterprise application user interface. Module Suite, it is a component of the Module Suite, and it's a fully integrated component within the bundle, and it works seamlessly in terms of functionality with the other components. So what is Smart Pages in the end? The way that we define it is the first solution for crafting and creating enterprise application UIs on top of CSP and extended DCM. So this comes the macro definition of it. And we can go ahead and further define it in 5 key points. One is that it's just like the Module Suite, just like the other components, it's an integrated add-on module for CSP and extended DCM. The one thing that really differentiates it is the fact that it was designed and developed essentially with the smart view in mind. So keeping that focus on the smart view. It is also a collection of low-coding, high-productivity tools. So it's a solution that is very quick to learn, but also very easy to use as well. Now, the third point, and probably one of the things that will be of most interest for the rest of the conversation, is the fact that Smart Pages, it's based on a reusable component-oriented architecture. So what this means is that to create a user interface, it's really just a matter of assembling some ready-to-use building blocks, kind of just like Legos. And just like the rest of the Module Suite, this library of building blocks, this library of Legos is extended both through our future releases, but also US customers or potential customers, you can also go ahead and extend that collection of building blocks as well. And the fourth point is that Smart Pages, it's a solution that allows you to do agile development, even when we're talking about UI. So we can go ahead and adopt an agile development approach throughout the entire cycle. So I can go ahead and quickly prototype a user interface. I can sit down with the line of business, gather the requirements, verify their results, essentially literally sitting right next to them. And if needed, I can go ahead and quickly implement any change requests as they arrive. So again, we can go ahead, sorry, and adopt an agile development approach for creating UIs throughout the entire process. And last but not least, the fifth point is that Smart Pages is a business-friendly solution. Now, to break this down into 2 points. One is that it's business-friendly because it brings quite a lot of value to the line of business by introducing significant enhancements to the overall user experience. The second point is that since Smart Pages is leveraging low coding and building blocks sort of paradigm, it allows even non-technical business users to create and manage their own UIs as well. So allows them to bridge that gap. So the reasons why to use Smart Pages. So I've broken this down into 2 slides. This first one is essentially what can end users do with these UIs that we can create through Smart Pages. Essentially, there are four points. One is that end users can utilize the user interfaces to insert, collect, or manipulate information and data as well. So they can be really obviously the front end for whatever application you have at hand. We can also utilize these UIs to interact with the platform's standard features. And by platforms, here I'm talking obviously about CSP and extended DCM. So we're able to expose and utilize all the standard functionalities of the platforms within UIs built with Smart Pages. But furthermore, we can also use Smart Pages, the UIs built with Smart Pages, to interact with an application's own business logics or own, let's say, actions that are particular and specific to that to that application or process. And last but not least, the UIs, in this case, we'll be talking about some sort of dashboard, can be utilized to present end users with just the relevant and significant information that they need in a specific context. So as the end user, I'm only seeing information that I actually need to do my work at that precise moment. The other the other reasons to use Smart Pages, or better yet, this is the title of this slide should really be, why should I choose Smart Pages? So let's say you've built your application with Module Suite. So you have your functional layer, but you need a way of exposing, of presenting that application to the business users. So essentially you have 3 options. One is that you could go the full 9 yards and do a fully custom developed UI. Obviously in this case, the benefits is that it's highly personalized. However, the drawbacks is that you have high costs for creating that in terms of effort and therefore in monetary resources. But you also have a low maintainability both in the short, medium, and long term as well. The third option is that I could go ahead and personalize the classic UI. Now, the benefit of that is that I'm working in a framework, so I have my, let's say, boundaries and path pretty well defined. But again, here, I will encounter an issue of low flexibility, obviously because I'm working in a very rigid framework. And I also have issues of maintainability, just if I was doing a fully fledged custom developed UI. And obviously this brings me to the third and actually best option, and that is to do a tailored Smart View utilizing the Smart Pages. And the way that we see it is that it brings, let's say, the benefits of both solutions to the table. So you are working in a framework, but at the same time, you have extreme flexibility. So you're able to deliver very personalized UIs to the line of business just as they are requesting them. And since we're utilizing a low coding approach, since we're utilizing building blocks, since we're utilizing tools that are very easy to learn, there is also a minimal effort when creating the presentation layer utilizing Smart Pages. So obviously these are the three options that we see when you need to create your presentation layer. Obviously each has its drawbacks and benefits, but for today we'll be focusing naturally on that third and last one regard to Smart Pages. So before I hand things off to Patrick, I'm sure, again, a lot of you are interested in this, a lot of you, let's say, current customers or potential future customers, is how is Smart Pages licensed? So first, right off the bat, Smart Pages, it's available from version 2.6 onwards. And I just want to stress the fact that it is an integral part of the module suite. So it's the fourth pillar of the module suite. It's been designed to work in conjunction with all the other modules. So again, bringing the most value when they're all working together. For this reason, the reason that's an integral part of the module suite, there's no separate license required. So whenever you move to version 2.6 onwards, it'll be part of the package. Now with module suite, with Smart Pages, we really see that we are further extending and continuously growing the value of the module suite, what you can actually do with the module suite, the reach that the module suite has. And we're getting saying closer and closer to the fact that module suite is really the only add-on that you'll need for CSP. So without further ado, let me stop sharing my screen and I'll hand things off to Patrick.
Thank you so very much, Paolo, and thank you to everybody. So what we're gonna show you is, first of all, a couple of examples of the kind of application, kind of user experience you can build using Module Suite. And I'm talking about Module Suite because, as Paolo said, Smart Pages is now just a part of it. So Smart Pages makes sense and does better when integrated with a beautiful form to collect input from the users, and obviously the content script to implement the business logic behind your application. So the example that we are going to see here is a very simple example. Probably some of you already have seen it. It is an example of document composition automation. So what we basically have here is a spacing content server that serves as my entry point for this application. We have the information related with what the application can do for me, and have all the pieces of the application available at my fingerprint tip, and I can go into my document space to see the SOWs that I've already created with my application, the one that are in drafts, in draft state, and the one that are under approval. So as you've seen, the sidebar on the right has changed based on the folder in where I moved. And the fact is that we are basically using to create this application just a couple perspectives. So what we are leveraging here is the fact that the Smart Page, in this case, we are utilizing to display the information on the right, is notified whenever a space is changed. Doesn't really matter if the perspective you're using is working on cascading. So if you are browsing your spaces, Smart Pages will always be notified the fact that you have changed the folder, and so you can decide to display the proper information related to the space you're actually in. So to build this interface, we have basically utilized 3 different tiles. So the first tile on the left is part of Smart Pages, is a 3 tile that is backed basically by a content script. So this tile is in charge of displaying the information in a tree, so the information that you have collected through content script, and allowing you to trigger from the element of the tree different actions that can be utilized either to as in this case, trigger a navigation, so of the space where we are, or to perform other kind of actions, among which updating maybe the information displayed in other pages or in other tile. So this very simple application, as said, allow me to basically create a new SOW, so a new statement of work agreement, out of a series of pre-approved, predefined template. And to do that, I need to collect the information from my user. So the interesting aspect here is the tile on the right is backed by a smart page, but is still an answer module style. And answer module style have the possibility to be expandable. So what you can do is to decide what page or what content script you want to execute in the expanded view. So you can decide to have the same information, or you can decide to have a completely different kind of information. The interesting aspect is here again is that the page or the script that you are using it in the expanded view will receive the information that has been called in order to display an expanded view. And the expanded view in this case can be configured to work in two different ways, either as a modal panel or, as in this case, as a side panel. So what we have done here is to associate both to the standard expand button and as to this element here, the opening of the side panel in which a beautiful web form is rendered. Embedding this beautiful web form inside this, this page is just a matter of drag and dropping a component and configure it in order to point to the right beautiful web form. A beautiful web form conserves all their capabilities in terms of being able to validate your input, being able to be filled in with the information coming from other system, or initialized with information that are coming from different queries to different system, etc. Is still very dynamic, etc. So all the capabilities of beautiful web forms are preserved when they are embedded into the smart viewer, used as in this case. In fact, what I can do here is to see the document parts that I'm going to utilize to compose my document. So different Word template that will be merged together, and in which several replacements tag will be replaced in order to create the final document. I can have this kind of tile with the possibility of adding and removing rows very conveniently. So for a form set, etc., etc. And as said, so all the capabilities are preserved. So what I can do here is to click a button and automatically fill in the information with demo information that I can leverage and use to create my document. And what I can do now is to click another button, trigger another action managed by beautiful web form framework that again is exposed in this case through a smart page, and instruct the system to build a document out of the information that we have provided. So in this case, a new document has been created in the draft folder, and the document has been renamed accordingly to the selected customer, start and ending date for the engagement, and the unique identifier automatically generated. From here, I can just start an approval workflow for this document. And this approval workflow is backed by content script. And what content script does basically is, first of all, to move the document under approval so that the approval process can proceed. And here is the same smart page that we were looking in the previous space, configured to display different kind of information. So it's no longer displaying the description of the process. What is now providing me is a way to directly access my different tasks. So this widget is configured to display the tasks related to a specific workflow map for workflow that are running, and is configured so that if the task is assigned to a group I belong to or myself, offers me the possibility to go directly to the associated form step to take action over the document, provide a comment, etc., etc. I can just send on this workflow step and basically go back. And the other interesting aspect here is that, as in this case, if the task is sent to someone else, I can just see that the task is sent to someone else and eventually take ownership for the task as well. So complete the task, even in this case, if the task doesn't belong to me. And what I can also do is to select, in this case, multiple workflows at the same time and delete them all together with the document. So this simple application was developed around an already existing model suite application that we use to demonstrate still in Smart UI or in Classic UI. But what we were able here to do was to provide a much better user experience for the end user, providing this navigation tree as well as this side bar panel. So the pieces of this application that you have seen here are stored under this folder. So we have the process overview page, the one displayed here, right sidebar page, which is basically the one that is providing the widget I can use to control my workflow, and the content script that serves as a data source. As you see, a very limited number of objects are utilized to create the entire application. And the interesting aspect is here, obviously, is that these objects are natively supported by Smart UI. So I can create a new Smart page, a new content script directly from here. And I can edit them directly from here. So if I want to edit the process overview page, I can do so. I just need to click on it. And I can change something here, webinar, for example, for the title, and I can just close it, and the the changes are automatically applied to my application and are immediately available. The second demonstration I'd like to show you is a slightly more complex UI that we have created, believe it or not, just today. So just before to have this webinar, we created a very simple application that basically allows us to control workflow in a running workflow. So different instances actually of a running workflow. So you have to imagine, I'm sorry, we have imagined a very simple ticketing system that moves ticketing requests in different among different steps in a workflow. And what we have built around is a very simple application that allows us to review the different workflow instances that have been started, and we can take action over the different tasks here. So each one of these items represents a workflow task, and we can take direct action directly from here using this very convenient tree layout to see the different tasks and classified by the steps in which they are. So I can take, for example, this task here, and what basically the system is doing is loading into this Smart page the form that we have created to manage this workflow step. So to be more clear, let me open through the assignment. As you can see here, the different tasks of the same workflow at the same stages. So let me just open one of them. So we have basically created a beautiful web form using a standard beautiful web form builder. And the interesting aspect is that we can decide to use the beautiful web form as a standalone solution, as in this case, to display the information, the attachments, and eventually the comments, or we can decide to embed the functionality of beautiful web forms, as in this case, directly into a Smart View space. So in order to provide our users the possibility to work very conveniently to different tasks at the same time, to move between different workflow steps very quickly, and to provide information and feedback very quickly. So let me be a bit more clear. So if I go here into my webinar folder, I have I have to switch on classic UI, classic view. I have my standard content server workflow form template. A beautiful web form view has been associated. So I can open my beautiful web form view. I can modify something here. So say that instead of ticket ID, I just want ID. I can save it. And if I reload the standalone page, now it says ID, but if I go here and just reload a page in Smart View with Smart Page, you see the same changes been applied here because this is the very same object at the end. So what we are displaying here is a tree. In this case, we can filter. So I can, for example, filter the tickets on their IDs. So I can decide to have 5, 7, 4, even up to a single field, a single ticket. Okay, can remove my filtering. I can move across different fields, and I can see the workflow attachments. So I can eventually provide some attachments here. So I had some attachments, and I can complete my job configuring this smart page on the right. So what I can do here is to, again, go into my webinar folder. I have the central and right smart page. I can go ahead and modify my right smart page. And from here, what I'm going to do first is to add a reference to another beautiful web forms in which we have the widget we can use to collect and display ticket information, comments information. So I can search for that form here, just save it. And if I load it now, I have to save this. Otherwise, it doesn't load anything. We have now the possibility to see and review comments. So if there is comment associated to this workflow step, we can see them here and eventually add a new comment. And in the library of the widget you can use, so the library, as said, contains already some pre-configured widget you can use to create your pages, and they have different complexity, etc. And some of them are simple as, for example, just a title and subtitle. So I can say, for example, here I want to display the ticket history information. Okay. And I can change the dimension of it. That will be ticket history information, or can be as complex as displaying the workflow audit. So a configurable table that I can utilize to customize the information related to the workflow audit that I want to see displayed. So I can save this, save, and go back here. And if I now click here, I will have the information related with my comments together with my audit, etc. And I can move things around. So if I want to escalate something from here, I can just assign someone here to work, provide more information, and move the step from support to R&D. So I can do it again and move things from support to R&D, etc. And again, the interesting aspect here, believe it or not, this entire layout has been created just this morning. One of the key aspects here in working with Smart Page is, in our opinion, the possibility of, from a single element in the UI, to trigger the update and to trigger the action execution from other elements. So as in this case, so clicking on this item is uploading 3 pieces of information in the page, and that can turn the entire UI into a very productive and very rich user experience for the end user. So I think that I've completed my demonstration. The last thing I want to show you is how you can actually create this kind of stuff starting really from scratch. So as said, so this dashboard has been configured basically using 3 different tiles. So the first one is a 3 tile. So if you open your perspective manager, you will have a library of AnswerModules styles. And as you can see, you have 6 different tiles you can use. So this one was a 3 tile, and the 3 tile has been configured just to execute a script that displays the information. And in the script, there is the information related to how to collect the different steps from a single workflow map. Then we have a smart page tile. So in this case, the data source is central, which is a smart page. So whenever the tile requires a data source, you can either utilize either a content script or a smart page. So, and in this case, what the smart page is doing, so if we open central, the smart page is displaying, there is a condition that determines if you have already select some workflow, and in this case is displaying the information related with the workflow form and the standard smart view node table that has been associated to the attachments, or to display this just this text that I can reconfigure here from this editor. So I can write the text I want, and I can change things around. And the third widget here is again another smart page. In this case is right, which as I've already shown you, contains the information, the logic to display another form that has the widget we use to display the comments and collect the comments for a running workflow, as well as the other widget, a smart page widget in this case, we can use to display the content of the audit table for the running workflow, the running selected workflow. So creating these interfaces is really just a matter of deciding which kind of tile you want to have in your view and associated it to either a smart page or a content script. Smart page obviously allows you to have much more flexibility in terms of how you want to display your information, so and reorganize your information. So the layout is really flexible. So I can do this kind of thing and cancel and have my layout reorganized. This is not the super smart move, but you have you can probably understood how flexible this layout can become just moving pre-configured widget around. So Paul, I think we are ready to get a question.
Okay.
If there are.
So let me just Okay, so there was one question in relation to compatibility. So if you could just give a say some words on which version of CSP and Extended DCM this is compatible with.
So can you repeat the question?
So there was one question regarding compatibility of smart pages. So if you could just give a quick explanation of what versions smart page is compatible with.
Yeah, so smart pages will be compatible with basically Module Suite 2.6 onwards. So and Module Suite 2.6 support content server version 62.8 and the following one, so 16.2.10 and 11.
At the moment, I don't see any additional questions in the panel. Maybe if you have any Oh, one just came out. Okay, can a smart page be created as a landing page of a container like a specific connected workspace type or a folder?
Absolutely. So the as demonstrated, smart pages can be utilized in any perspective tile. So as any perspective tile. So one of the most common thing you can do with smart pages is integrating them in perspectives. So for example, landing pages or perspective associated to your connected workspace types. So that absolutely. And the nice thing is that since they can sense the space in where they are displayed, you have additional flexibility in terms of reusing the same smart page in different situation and having the presentation logic in it to decide what to display accordingly to the, let's say, for example, the type of workspace you are displaying them in.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Patrick. At the moment, if used in a perspective, can I debug it?
Yes, of course. So the smart pages, as said they leverage all the capabilities of model suite. So whenever they are a very strict model view controller framework. So the page is the view, the controller is implemented with content script, and the data that this page is displaying is also implemented with content script. So there's a clear separation between what is presentation and what is the information to be displayed, the model, and the way that information is controlled, and the way the business logic is implemented. So everything that is related with the business logic or the way you are fetching this information, etc., can be debugged as any other content script on your system.
And the next is a question that came through the chat to the panelists. Can these be shown inside extended DCM for Salesforce or SAP or things like that? Or is it only inside native extended DCM?
No, it can be displayed also in the extended DCM scenario. In fact, that smart pages can be utilized to provide in that scenario the additional functionalities that are otherwise not available because the widgets that you are displaying in that context do not have that kind of feature. So we have very recently we had the opportunity to work with a partner of ours in order to set up a smart page that we were utilizing to implement the document comparison functionality between different versions of the same document to be embedded into the Salesforce Lightning interface. The look and feel of the end result was very good, and the functionality itself was working very well.
Now there's another question. How are the permissions managed for the different workflows volumes? So attachments, forms, etc. And editing perms after every action? I think there's a two-part question.
So the permissions are the standard one. So Smart Pages does nothing about, related to the permission associated to, for example, workflow attachments or the workflow information, etc. In fact, in order, for example, to make that application work, we had the different steps were assigned to the user was logged in with. So if the user has the possibility, as we have seen through the standard interface, to open the workflow task, they can also access that information using the smart pages. So there is no basically interaction. So the only thing I can say on it is that a model suite always respects the permissioning mode of content server. So it doesn't allow you to do anything you are not supposed to do, or you're not allowed to do using the standard interface. And the only thing that model suite does is typically to provide automation, so to reduce the number of interaction that are typically required to complete a task.
So at the moment, there aren't any other questions. Maybe you can give it a couple more seconds if anything comes up. In the meantime, as you can see on my screen, I just want to inform everyone and announce that we will be sponsoring all 3 Enterprise Worlds this year. So in March, I'll be in Singapore with one of our colleagues. In April, we'll be in Prague, and I believe it's end of September, starting or beginning of October, we'll be in beautiful Las Vegas. So it'll be, obviously a great chance to meet up and meet in person. Maybe have a little bit more in-depth discussion. In the meantime, if you have any questions or would like to discuss Smart Pages or the module suite, more general terms or for a specific use case, feel free to reach out to me directly. My contacts are there, so call me or email me anytime. There's one question just came in. Is the tree tile page reserved when one user is working on it? Patrick, I think you might be on mute.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question properly. So the different tiles, they give you access to the information in that example that you have in the workflow. So there's no need to reserve the page, meaning that when you access your workflow step, so basically in this case, particular case, the workflow step is assigned to you, so nobody else can access to that kind of information. But in other case, works exactly any other component of the content server interface. So there's basically no need to reserve it unless you are performing some editing, but this is not related with the page itself. It's more related with the content you are displaying in the page.
I hope that answered the question. Are there any examples in the training center available for Smart Pages?
Not yet. Will be available soon. So the environment that we've used to create these demonstrations is the environment that we will make available. And the examples that you have seen, so particularly, for example, the one related to the SOW automation, so document creation automation, will be available soon for download.
Okay. Any other remaining questions? At this point, I think we can wrap it up here. So thank you everyone for joining. Oh, one last question, last minute. Smart Pages is only for Smart UI?
No, actually not. So Smart Pages was born on Smart UI, so is a child of Smart UI, but actually that the usage we have the technology we build Smart Page with allows us to utilize Smart Page and to consider to utilize Smart Pages in many other different scenarios. In fact, I didn't show you, but Smart Pages can also run as a standalone object. So if I click on a Smart Page, so I'm not using Smart Page within a tile, but I click directly on it, Smart Page will be open, and I can associate, as for beautiful web forms, a skin to it in order to use it directly. So it can become a standalone page. And these skins, we are going to extend them. We're going to create new skins to support different kind of usage. So the first skins we're going to develop will be definitely for the different extended DCM vertical solution. So we have in our roadmap the development for a lightning skin for the integration with Salesforce, and a skin specifically designed for SAP, etc. And other scenarios will allow you to create your own skin and to utilize Smart Pages to create your own custom dashboard, your own custom interface. Even more, Smart Pages will soon serve to allow you creating documents directly without having to configure too much in terms of development, because the technology we have used allows us to the library of components, the library of widgets used to create the Smart Pages, they can be extended, and we can create a library of widgets specifically designed to be utilized in the context of creating, for example, PDF documents. So we are seeing just the very first steps of this new technology. We are very excited because we already foreseen the possible future usage, and we think there's a lot of things that in the near future will be possible thanks to this new technology.
Is there another question? Is there a document viewer widget that can be integrated?
Yes, there's a widget that can be utilized either to display a PDF.js viewer, and there's another widget that can be utilized to display the Brava viewer or the content suite viewer.
At this time, maybe we can wrap it up, unless again there's any last minute questions. So from my end, just one quick, let's say, service announcement. The webinar that was originally scheduled for through OpenText, so the OT Live webinar, it's still on. It's just postponed till the 20th. So that could be another chance to re-see some of the solution, maybe see something new as well. So in the meantime, thanks everyone again for attending. Again, thanks also based on the last minute change. Really appreciate it. If there's any questions, again, feel free to reach out, call me anytime. And on my behalf, thanks everyone again. One last question again. Can be used in production environments.
Yes, it can be utilized in production environments. So the solution is part of Model Suite. So the Smart Pages is not delivered yet in the same installer of Model Suite. So there is a separate installer, but it is part of the suite. So the current version numbering of Smart Pages is 2.0, while Model Suite has 2.6. Starting from 2.7 Model Suite 2.7, which will be released next month, Smart Pages also will have the same numbering and will be integrated in the same installer. So if you're already Model Suite 2.6 and you haven't received the installer for Smart Pages, just send an email to our support channel and they will send you the link from where to download it and instruction on how to install it. Starting from the next release of Model Suite, they will be integrated. So once you receive the installers for the master installers for Model Suite, there will be an additional component named Smart Pages, and that will be part of the same package.
Okay, thanks for that, Patrick. Patrick, anything else from your end? Any other info on Smart Pages or what's coming up since we have some time left?
No, I'm really, so there's many different new things in 2.6 we haven't time to discuss, and 2.7 will have some new, very exciting features related to how distributed agents can be leveraged thanks to Model Suite, and how you will be able to process a large amount of data thanks to Model Suite without having to write too complex or too complex applications or to complex solution, and that will be very exciting. I hope we will be able to schedule another of these webinars to showcase you what we have been with Model Suite 2.6 related to workflows, because in our opinion, 2.6 also thanks to the very, let me say, lightning suggestion received from the community, in particular from Hapu, as now some new features that are really game changer in related to what you can do with Content Suite and workflows, and how workflows can be utilized in Content Suite. So hopefully we will schedule a webinar dedicated to workflows and what you can do with workflows. We haven't time yet now to discuss it, but stay tuned, because there is some very exciting news related to that functionalities.
So everyone look out for LinkedIn posts, or look out for one of my direct emails announcing this this upcoming webinar. Date TBD for the moment. Okay, well then, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the week, and look out for also the recording that we'll be publishing probably either tomorrow or early next week. Thanks everyone. Have a good evening or afternoon or morning.